I did my research on the camera revolution by Bernice. The first cameras were primitive and they could only capture an image, but there were also problems with their range. Then there was a Pinot camera created by an Arab physicist named Ibn al-Haytham, who published his book called Book of Optics in 1021 AD. The camera was also known to be used in the 4th century BCE because Aristotle and Eusebius wrote about them. Then, Ibn al-Haytham was credited for creating the camera obscura, which was like the Pinot camera. In Greek, the camera obscura meant dark chamber, which was what it initially was. It used a lenses or a pinhole to project the image on a surface. The light would travel through the hole and strike a reflected surface, and an object with an image upside down would appear. The first few camera obscuras were large enough to fit people, but gradually they became a bit smaller in size. The camera was used as a drawing tool for clear and realistic portrayal of objects which were only temporary and not permanent. In the 18th century, similar cameras were created and mirrors were used to reflect the image the right side up. In 1827, a French researcher, Joseph Niapis, created the first photograph, which was coated with chemicals which allowed the picture to stay for a short period of time on a piece of paper. Also, in 1827, he made the first photographic image with the camera obscura. At the time, people only used the camera for drawing purposes, but not for making photographs. But his photo would need 8 hours to process, and after being processed, it would soon disappear. In 1829, Niapis and Louis Dragut came together to make better invention, and in 1839, the daguerreotype was created after Niapis died, and the new invention was named after Louis Dragut. The process of the daguerreotype was when the images are fixed onto a sheet of silver-plated copper, and with this process the pictures would not fade away and would stay for a longer period of time. Due to this invention, the first real camera was invented by Mr. Walcott in 1841. This camera could take candid photos. He would use a daguerreotype process to make the pictures on paper. After the first real camera by Mr. Walcott was the daguerreotype in 1855, it made it easier for photographers to take candid photos and allowed artists to make quick sketches in this field. The catalyst for the film and the continuation and adoption of the camera was from Alexander Walcott. His invention of the first real camera with the use of the daguerreotype, it allowed other candid photos to be taken and not be faded away with time. In 1888, Kodak was created by George Eastman and other scientists. He created the photographic film in 1889. In 1892, a 35mm film gouge for still photography was invented by Thomas Edison and William Dickinson. A 35mm camera was put into market in 1925 after World War I. It was used to build compact cameras by Oscar Bernac, and the camera was called the CR1. By the end of the century, Kodak branded cameras were invented, which introduced the snapshot process, and only in the 1960s were they being sold. Then twin lenses cameras, also known as TLRs, were showed in 1900s, but they're too bulky for the public to use. The turn of the revolution of the cameras was in 1948 when the first instant picture cameras were created. The Polaroid Model 45, also known as the Land camera after its inventor Edwin Land, was the first instant camera. Then the first real digital camera with the Fuji DS in 1988. It had 16 megabytes internal memory, but was never released in the US. But the first available digital camera were released in 1991, which was the Kodak DCS-100. Now that they were in the 20th century, the new and smaller models are being created every day and becoming more advanced and futuristic. Thank you.